All around Europe, everyday women are trying to make a living during World War II with different principles.
My husband has always told me that staying home, keeping the house clean, taking care of our children are what women are good for.
And complete different ways of living.
I don't need a man to tell me what to do. If you want to get somewhere in life, you gotta do it yourself.
If I wasn't here, who would clean these dishes?
Tonight, on War Wives Swap, we will be putting these women to the test. Two women, worlds apart, a stay-at-home housewife of 7 extremely disobedient children,
Caring for our children and doing the household chores is the only way to live.
and a hard-working war nurse dedicated to working for a living.
Why stay at home when you can make an impact on the world?
But when they swap lives, their world is turned completely inside out. And this is War Wives Swap. Our first wife is Linda, an underprivileged woman who conforms to misogyny.
Welcome to my house. Parenting to me is having me and my children follow my husband's rules. While my husband's saving lives at war, I knew I had to fulfill my role as mother and take care of our home and children. I do this so when he returns from the war, he'll be happy. Plus, with a large quantity of children, it's all I can do.
Meet our second wife, Judith. She's a diligent nurse who believes that women are worth more than maids.
In a normal day in my life, I tend to many wounded soldiers, and whenever I'm done, I stay around the ones that are still recovering. I used to be a stay-at-home wife like Linda until I got drafted. I felt like it was a calling for me, not only to get away from patriarchy of women's lives, but also to get rid of the feeling of being trapped. Sometimes things get hard, but I try to remember the pledge of an army nurse. Hear my parents' silence before thee. I ask for courage each day. Grant that I be worthy of the scared pledge of my profession and the lives entrusted in my care.
The social experiment has begun, and the wives prepare to swap lives and families. The wives move across the country as they get ready to move into each other's homes. Each wife has written a household manual which describes their rules and how to run their home. They'll have no choice but to obey.
I go by a strict schedule. 6 a.m. wake up. 6:05 get ready for a day of cleaning. 6:30 start with cleaning the sheets. Then bathrooms, doing the dishes, mop the floors, dust everything down. By 8 o'clock make breakfast for the children, then clean up after them. That's a lot.
6 a.m. Wake up. That's something we have in common. Put on scrubs, pack first aid kit, out the door by 7. Go to camp and wait for commands? Most days I'm on the front lines working under hard conditions. There's no particular set of rules to follow when on the field. Not even training is required. I make emergency choices on the spot for severely wounded soldiers in field hospitals. This seems more extreme than accidentally bleaching my clothes.
Feeling on edge, both Judith and Linda will start their new lives. It's Linda's first day on the battlefield, and as she settles in, she explains why women meant so much to World War II.
Today is my first day as an Army nurse. You'd think because I've only been a housewife that there would be some training, but there's not. Nurses were needed so badly in the war that they didn't have to go through nurse schooling or training. What is this? My commander told me that most of the women I've been working with have contributed so much to the war. They left their families and home to provide for the men at war. Without these women, injured men would have no care. Women like Judith relied on this job. They now had this huge opportunity to leave home, which most women were striving for. I'm starting to understand Judith's reasoning behind becoming an Army nurse.
Now back to Judith. Today is her first day as a housewife.
Today I begin my new life as a housewife. While reading Linda's schedule, I started to realize how much she does for her family. She is to ration her food for her and her family due to all the resources being used by the war. She is to raise and school 7 children, which is not easy to do. Although I do not believe in a man controlling my life, I do understand what women like Linda are doing in support of America in the war.
After a week in their new lives, we bring Judith back to her home to discuss with Linda about their new roles in the war.
A few days into the experiment, I started to realize the importance of U.S. Army nurses in the war.
If it weren't for nurses, most of the injured men would be dead. You as Army nurses contribute so much to the war and are definitely needed.
How do you feel about being a housewife?
I actually started to understand why you do what you do. You are supporting your family while your husband's away, and I realized how many struggles you face every day. So, how do you feel about being an Army nurse?
Well, Judith, I'm going to be really honest with you. It's extremely hard. You have to work well under hard situations, live in bad conditions, and be ready at any given time.
And the truth comes out. That's all for this episode. Make sure to tune into next week's episode where we focus on 2 more wives from the war.